watching this storm as it heads northeast now. West Swansea in the path of this storm. We are on ground level or near ground level with the street level mapping. You can see it a little bit better. People that live in these communities know these fields, valleys, rivers, and you can see it a little bit more intensely right now. Cindy, go ahead.
Tornado warning also just came in for Burlington, Vermont, from Burlington, Vermont. They issued the tornado warning. Yeah, it's for
oh no.
Northwestern Vermont and central Vermont.
We were just here, weren't we not?
Yes, we were.
This is your second warning of the day up here near Worcester and back towards Waterbury. Waterbury, second time you've been warned on this. This also is one of those cells that's going to be difficult going into the Green Mountains. It's already in the Green Mountains, really, technically speaking, as it crosses near Campbell's Hump. Waterbury and Stowe, that warning is ongoing until, let's probe that and check that out.
Until 5:15.
5:15, there it is, 5:15. And it includes Bolton, Duxbury, Waterbury, and Worcester, Vermont now, Worcester, Vermont. And then we go back to the Connecticut warning. Again, this is a tornado warning until 5:15 back to Warren, Connecticut. And then we have another one. This is 3 in New England right now. Wow, this is a busy day. And it's likely to get even more busy, folks. This is up near Keene, Swansea, and back towards Harrisville. So not ready to call this an outbreak just yet, but if we have ground truth confirmation and we have storms that are actually touching down with these tornadoes, then we will have an outbreak officially. But right now, these are rotating storms with the potential of producing tornadoes. We do not yet have confirmation that they have done that, but we have 3 separate ones, all different expiration times. Actually, these are similar, 5:15, Dublin, Keene, and back towards Swansea, New Hampshire. Heavy rain nonetheless with these storms as they head to the northeast. The tracks on these, hail tracks also an issue. These will be producing a large damaging hail and the potential for strong gusty winds. Despite the fact that you may be in a tornado warning right now, you still have that potential. It doesn't necessarily mean it's all negated. There is a little bit of rotation right near Swansea. So again, getting a little bit more descriptive here, where you need to be in the basement or where you need to be taking shelter. It's specifically in West Swansea and Swansea itself right now. You're near Flat Roof Mill Road and also Spragueville, part of I imagine that's a section of Swansea and West Swansea. Homestead Ave. It looks like, too, if you're west of Westport or over towards Chesterfield or Hinsdale, you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, but you're not in a tornado warning, so you do not have to be taking shelter in the basement. But anywhere around Swansea or near Keene, New Hampshire, Harrisville, and Dublin, look out. This storm is headed your way. Look at this a little bit better and a little bit more with the radar and the precipitation that we're seeing, and also the lightning. The lightning is deadly in any form. These storms have intense updrafts, so they're producing quite a bit of lightning, and they are nasty too. So strong gusty winds a possibility with any of these cells up to 60 miles an hour, no doubt. And again, rotation now out of Warren, Connecticut. We're switching gears here. Pardon me for jumping around, but we have 3 active warnings going, so we need to actually keep you apprised of each one of these and jump around. This is towards Kent and back towards Warren, Connecticut, too. This storm is fully now in New York State, and you could see it headed towards Litchfield and Torrington, too. So despite the fact that you're outside of that, you need to be preparing now in Torrington and Litchfield for this storm to approach you. It's not going to fade, and also potentially be severe. That potential is ongoing here with strong gusty winds. Velocity scan, looking at that, there's still some good rotation. Now take that picture in your mind and bring this up to New Hampshire, and you can see up in New Hampshire, we're also dealing with that same kind of rotation. There it is again. There's a similarity there, right? Away and towards the radar. Here too, you may have the potential for having strong gusty winds and damaging hail out of this cell as it moves towards Swansea, through Swansea and north of Keene. So going up to Vermont right now and taking again that mental image of that coupling between the red and the green. There's a little bit less of a coupling here outside of Waterbury. You see it right in there, but there's still something there from the radar site and rotation. in there is a little bit nondescript, not as well done because it's in the Green Mountains. But boy, lots of warnings. I mean, it can be very confusing here. We have flash flood potential here. We have strong gusty wind potential, and we also have tornado potential, depending on the coloring here, all through Stowe, all through Waterbury, Elmore, and Calais right now, Vermont, all the way over to Cabot, too. So that's your second round up in Vermont. And in Connecticut, we're just dealing with the first round. There are big gaps between these two severe cells, one in New Hampshire, one in Connecticut as well. But this Connecticut storm through Warren, Connecticut is one that has this warning until 5:15 for the next 15, 18 minutes. And then you have Massachusetts, which is pretty quiet right now. We may fill in this gap, but whatever we have in this vicinity that comes in could be a rotating storm. This warning is until 5:15 up near Swansea. This one also till 5:15. As we have it going towards Torrington, Connecticut, too. Now, looking at, again, the heavy rain out of this. This is an intense rainmaker up here near Swansea and back towards Harrisville and coming out of Keene. This is on the edge of the radar scope, but it's also one that bears watching all the way through Antrim and back over towards Peterborough, New Hampshire, and Dublin, too. Dublin is technically in that tornado warning. If you're just joining us, we have 3 active severe storms with tornado warnings, 3 active tornado warnings themselves. And if you are under that and your phone has gone off, the tornado is imminent or possibly occurring. We have not confirmed that in these 3 tornado warnings just yet. Spotted or indicated on radar. There's enough rotation that we're comfortable enough, the Weather Service is, for putting in that warning and actually having those warnings go for a certain period of time. Head to the basement or the lowest level of your home or business, or if you're outside, take cover right now. There's hail-producing storms, too, out of these. When we talk about these possibly tornadic thunderstorms, we're also talking about the potential for strong updrafts. When you have that updraft, you are maintaining a velocity that's going straight up, which can produce large hailstones. We don't yet have any confirmation of any hailstones, but if I took the hail track and looked at these, they both have tracks, one going through Brattleboro, one coming out of Poughkeepsie, so they can and do produce damaging hail too. So despite the fact that you're in a tornado warning, you could still have a swath of hail coming through and gusty winds. Along with these intense bursts of lightning, they really are intense too with these huge updrafts and these storms as well. Sydney, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I was just keeping an eye on those storms and getting ready for 5 o'clock for when NBC viewers join us here. So yeah, we've been watching these warnings come in, and you can see on this map, we do have a tornado warning, northern Vermont, a tornado warning that Pete was just outlining, and then one that has entered, not even in the watch box for the tornado watch, but that just goes to show severe weather can still happen outside of these watch boxes. We have tornado watches that go until 8 o'clock, really across the board. So we're watching this very closely. This line is a strong one, and this is some of the highest risk we've had for rotation for quite some time. About as far as the Storm Prediction Center is concerned, that rotation has been around. All right, thank you for joining us. Pete Bouchard and I are covering a few warnings across New England for 2 tornado warnings, a third one over parts of Connecticut. But right now, Massachusetts is not looking at those conditions. We do have a tornado watch, though, that is in place until 8 o'clock tonight. And we're going to be keeping a close eye on it because this system is a strong one. So those warnings that we do have over parts of New Hampshire and Vermont right now are for thunderstorms and also for rotating storms. Right now, Massachusetts is looking mainly dry out there, but as we progress through the rest of our evening, we're going to see these heading our way. So between now and around 7:15, a few thunderstorms do have the potential to be popping up over central Massachusetts, making their way towards the coast, and also southern New Hampshire as that line does work its way in. And then around 9 o'clock, still seeing that chance for storms, but the severe threat will begin to diminish at that point. Just watching it very closely as we go through our next couple of hours. And of course, with that tornado risk here, you will want to stay weather aware. Back to regular programming for the NBC viewers that are watching, and we'll continue covering this on NECN. All right, so we have dropped out of NBC programming, and is that a new? Oh,
no,
that
it's
is
the same warning. Yep, until 5:15, Sydney. Yeah, we're watching in western Connecticut now as it heads towards Torrington. Again, if you're just joining us, we're watching these 3 tornado warnings that are across New England. Big gaps in between these individual cells. This is likely to continue here through Torrington because we're seeing some signs that the rotation is very, very intact and strong too, potentially here. This is the velocity scan. We'll go right into that and you can see it a little bit better. And it does seem to have some sort of a coupling here between the red and the green. So that's why the warning is ongoing, red and green. So again, we check it out from 2 different perspectives, the Albany radar and the Taunton radar. And it gives us a little bit, and also the New York radar down on Long Island. So it has a different probing from different directions depending on the radar. And this is across Western Connecticut too. But if you're just joining us right now, you want to be taking shelter and taking cover because of this tornado warning that's active here in Connecticut, and also the one over Swansea, New Hampshire, and the one that's just crossing through Waterbury. This is the second time around for Waterbury to be under a tornado warning. So those paths of those storms seem to be going over the same spots in northern Vermont at least. Grand scheme of things, this is the tornado watch that's up until 8 o'clock tonight. That goes into northern Connecticut, northern Rhode Island, does include the city of Boston, does include the city of Worcester and Hartford too, and also to Portsmouth and Manchester. Burlington's in that. These are major cities in this watch. This is not to say that every spot will get a tornado tonight. This is not to say that everybody will get a thunderstorm. In fact, you could see huge gaps in between each cell. So that gives us a little pause too, and a little bit of relief, honestly, because it's not like we're tracking a full line of thunderstorms. We're mainly watching discrete cells, cells that are individual, separate from each other, and that are lone thunderstorms, kind of just wandering out there by themselves. Okay, so the one up in New Hampshire, watching that closely now with the radar. This one is in Harrisville, headed towards Peterborough. This is in a 5:15, so we have a few more minutes on this particular cell. This velocity scan is a little bit more distinctive now. You can see that coupling between the green and the red in here, and something that we're watching very carefully there. Hail also a possibility with these storms, and it does look like that hail path would pass through Keene and maybe perhaps through, looks like through Nelson and Harrisville, Marlborough, New Hampshire, and those are the hail tracks and the possibility of some hail in those storms. These hailstones could be pretty damaging too, because we have this huge updraft and it's rotating too, obviously with a potential tornado, but that does maintain some large hailstones out of these particular cells. And this is going towards Dublin. This watch, or warning I should say, excuse me, is going until 5:15 for this cell. Up across Vermont, not done yet in Waterbury, but we're close, almost in the clear. Bolton is pretty much in the clear too. Velocity scan on this is a little bit more, it's a little blurrier because obviously it's in the greens, but you see that Waterbury and Bolton coming out of this. We had some wind damage as well. We could do some storm reports out of this area. We had wind damage in Waterbury for some trees down. We had it also back through Huntington, Vermont with a previous cell, by the way. That's not this cell, but this is a previous cell. So we're storm wary up through Waterbury and Stowe. We also have reports of some wind damage across parts of central Vermont too. That is back near, that looks like Windsor in Charlestown. And that was a storm chase report, a tree down on a picnic table. What else? What else we have? More storm reports back across parts of southern Vermont too. And that is also a hail reports back across southwestern Vermont. And that was near Pownell with 1-inch hail. That was at 5 o'clock this evening too. So that was with that cell that's moving through now into Keene. And also that one is just about ready to clear Keene. You can see it a little bit better here. If we move over a little bit better, and the lightning volley with that too. Velocity scan and the radar itself showing you the precipitation. Heavy rain right now through Harrisville and Dublin. The tail of this storm is where we're watching that potential rotation. I'll put the rotation on here. We can stop it right there, and you can see it a little bit better in here as it heads towards Dublin. Again, not guaranteeing or promising a tornado is actually forming or on the ground just yet, but the potential for rotation is there. We typically use this product to see if there's any debris, and right now that is not even descriptive at all, so we're not terribly concerned that there is a tornado on the ground. Just checking, Sydney, we haven't had any ground truth confirmation from any spotters or anything
Confirmation,
like that?
yeah, no confirmation at this time from any of the offices that currently have warnings
Okay,
up.
good, thank you. We're again in southern parts of western Connecticut near Torrington, watching this tornado warning cell as it heads out of this warning area, likely to continue perhaps through Litchfield and Torrington, but storms typically cycle, so this one may be cycling down, have a little bit of a pause, catch its breath, then re-intensify and maybe put down a potential tornado. We know that the environment is conducive to keeping this thing alive as both a severe thunderstorm and potentially a damaging thunderstorm and a tornadic one too. The conditions are favorable all the way into Massachusetts for this cell. So this could be one of those cells that just keeps going and going and going until it crosses offshore. We've had those situations before where we just keep these things alive because of the environment that they're in. Very warm and humid. It feels like more like the upper 90s and mid 90s out there. The dew points are running into the 70s. You don't need me to tell you that these things are just feeding off of that kind of environment. In addition, we have a shear environment, meaning we have spin in the middle and upper atmosphere that allows these things, these storms, to continue to hold that rotation through their entire life cycle or until they exit offshore too. So this one is in the direction of Manchester right now. It seems to be headed in that direction, so we can at least expect some thunder in New Boston, Greenfield. This one, again, too, also getting to the edge of that warning area, and this is tracking eastbound as well, and east-northeast. Hancock, some heavy rain there, and also expect heavy rain through Dublin. You're in it right now. Intense lightning. This is the kind of thunder and lightning that'll shake the house because we know the updrafts are very strong, and we're full of ice in the upper part of the cloud, too. So there's plenty of power in these storms in terms of strong winds, in terms of hail potential. And if we look at the hail track in this one, it isn't all that intense, it seems, but you're out through Marlborough, New Hampshire, potentially some hail through Chesham, New Hampshire, and Harrisville as well, Dublin. It looks like it's going right over Dublin Road here, the hail shaft in this particular storm too. Look at the radar, and this is just showing you precipitation, not just, but this is very heavy rain as well. The rainfall rates in these are well over an inch. This could cause some flash flooding right now. We may see that in Harrisville, bullseye right over you. Those rainfall rates are over 2 inches per hour as this heads eastbound. This goes towards Hancock, New Hampshire, and Greenfield as well. This is a huge rain producer, and potentially the gusty winds are coming right down out of the cloud and straight down out of this, although the velocity scan wouldn't be all that descriptive. It does show somewhat of a red blob there, which could be the downdraft coming out of the cloud and hitting ground. That's potential. And then the coupling maybe if we have the tornado, but the tornado warning is still ongoing and coming to the east of that warning area. So notice this notch, it comes into this area, and a new warning may be issued for this particular cell by a different, maybe that would be this next half hour, next 45 minutes. And that would be a totally different tornado warning. Another one in Vermont that we're watching, Waterbury and Worcester. Watching this one head eastbound. Again, this is buried in the Green Mountains, so we're not going to get a lot of good signatures, a lot of good signals that there's something there, but there is a little bit of rotation right now. Shady Hill Road and back towards Worcester, Vermont, and this is headed eastbound. Again, that is a nasty storm no matter how you slice it. There's hail in that one. There's also the potential for flash flooding through Woodbury, Worcester, Calais as well. If we put on all those warnings, you could see a little bit better idea of what's going on here. We have a tornado warning, we have a severe thunderstorm warning, we also have a flash flood warning, and that is all through Morrisville, back through Elmore. This is a particularly nasty storm with all those warnings ongoing. I mean, we've crisscrossed all that backcountry there through Worcester and back into Stowe and Marshfield with both intense rain and the potential for a tornado here. We do not have any storm reports or the new fresh storm reports, but earlier we did out of Waterbury with trees down with a separate storm system, so we know it has the history of producing damaging wind, and we're in that zone right now. Rainfall rate, if we look at this one in Vermont, again, it's not probably doing it justice. It's probably much more intense through Stowe and Worcester. Probably streams are coming up. There's flash flooding ongoing because we have the flash flood warning going right now. So that's Vermont. Over towards New Hampshire, just out of Swansea and Keene right now. Swansea and Keene are in the clear. You do not have to shelter in place with this tornado warning because the threat has passed. It's towards Harrisville. It's going into Peterborough and Hancock. We're looking at the rainfall, the intense rainfall in Hancock. We look at the velocity scan, and again, and here it is too, a little bit hard to see. Rotation If you go to solely look at that, right in here, you can see a little bit better rotation west of Dublin and south of Harrisville. Over to Connecticut now. We're actively tracking 3 tornado warnings if you're just tuning in. Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Vermont too. Warren, Connecticut, and Cornwall, Connecticut now. Rotation scan shows it just at the edge of the box there. So it might be a case where this storm is starting to move out of that area. Yes, it is. And in that case, if you're in this warning, this is one of those strange situations in Cornwall and Warren that you're in the clear, even though you have a tornado warning over you. Severe thunderstorm watch is up too for this area, and this is the tornado watch that's ongoing here in northern Connecticut. This storm is not going to fade out. I predict that this will probably have a checkered history all across Connecticut and back towards Hartford as it continues to move eastbound. And perhaps this isn't the only warning that we'll be seeing out of that particular cell.
National Weather Service in Albany did say they're going to let that box expire at 5:15 for Western Connecticut.
Okay. We won't let our guard down, obviously, on that storm. That cell's still alive and kicking right there, isn't it, Sydney?
Yeah, it could definitely pick back up with more
How's that
rotation.
signature, right? We're waiting for it to cycle back up, and in the meantime, we're focused on New Hampshire now, and that cell that's on the edge of its warning as well, headed towards Greenfield with a lot of heavy rain. Velocity scan, not all that descriptive right now, but it's in between radar sites. And you can see it a little bit better here from this site out of Taunton and out of Norton. We have also a severe thunderstorm warning, completely separate, but this is also back over towards Canterbury and Warner. This is crossing over 89, and this is south of Laconia. There it is as it heads towards Gilmanton. We do have a race this afternoon at Loudon, so take cover with a severe thunderstorm warning. It looks like it might just be to the south of Loudon, Meredith. There's Wolfboro, some rain at least to slow things down on the track. And then across Vermont, north of Montpelier, near Waterbury, you're storm weary at the Ben & Jerry's place, but you see all the way to Worcester, we're under this tornado warning until 5:15 as this cell heads east. It's buried in the Green Mountains, so we've pretty much lost it. We'll pick it back up as it gets over towards Marshfield and St. Johnsbury with the radar out of gray, but right now there's not much to show out of that. But that confirmation, we'll have to wait to see if there's any kind of wind damage from this cell. This has the potential of producing quite a bit of wind damage and also some hail too, even though there's not much to show for any of those products. If I showed them to you, here's the hail. There seems to be some that cross Route 2 and 89 through Waterbury, but again, severe storm with all kinds of warnings around it. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, this is a flash flood warning, and this is your tornado warning. So this has the kitchen sink with it as it crosses across the Green Mountains. Hail back through Keene, New Hampshire, potentially, yeah, we have that potential. This is also a warned storm that should be up here and expire here in the next minute or so. We'll have to wait and see in Dublin and Nelson, New Hampshire. But you're pretty much in the clear. If we looked into those radar, if we looked in the radar, we're at the edge of the box there. And you can see back through Dublin, back towards Greenville and Hancock and Peterborough. You're pretty much out of that in Troy, New Hampshire, Keene, and Swansea. You're in the all clear. Dublin just about on the edge of that as well. Our concern now upstream, or downstream I should say, through New Boston, Greenfield with a severe thunderstorm warning now until 6 o'clock. That's in Bedford, Manchester, Merrimack. So get in more populated areas. And also this is the potential for, again, flaring back up. The warning has expired now, by the way, in Harrisville and back over towards Keene.
The Weather Service has mentioned they're going to put a tornado possible tag on the Hartford severe thunderstorm warning that we do have. So that's the rotating cell that the tornado warning was on prior to it. So just showing that it could be flaring back up with a little bit more rotation.
All right, Sydney, all warnings have expired. The one in Vermont is down. I should say all tornado warnings have expired. This is key. But we still have ongoing warnings for thunderstorms and flash flood warnings too. So we're going to regroup here and continue to monitor the situation for these cells. Again, these are not going to fade out. Downstream, meaning to the east of these thunderstorms, we're watching through Manchester. We're watching through Hartford right now. Another flare-up of a tornado warning. But we'll let you go for now. We'll be back as conditions warrant. Thank you.